So we are recording. Let me start with the simple question. So tell me, in this day and age where people are trying to connect via iPhone, via Facebook, via you name the digital device, why did you decide to connect via a print magazine?
It's a great question. It kind of just happened, honestly. And I think the problem is when you try to connect digitally, your feed is really curated and you're only getting news and information about people that you've chosen, right, to get news and information about. And in order to really know who's in your community, right, that's what the media is for. That's what newspapers and magazines exist for. And there was a real void in our community.
The numbers are showing also that local publications were actually thriving. So even though something like Newsweek was switching to digital, and there's maybe a lot of reasons, my opinion is that people don't necessarily care about having an actual paper Newsweek. They just want to get that hard-hitting quick news or whatever it may be, wherever they are. But when it comes down to a local level, people like having an actual, this is our town, this is my business. They like having that in their homes and businesses. And then to Gia's point, there was a void in our community that needed to be filled.
We previously had a really nice local magazine in our area. I used to write for them occasionally. And the beginning of the pandemic, it was sold to a family who chose to recreate it into what they envisioned. And it lost that local feel. It lost that feeling of community, of knowing who your neighbors are. And we are fortunate. We live not too far from Manhattan. And we have a lot of very interesting and talented and artistic people in our neck of the woods. And so there's still a ton of stories to tell.
So, I mean, one would expect like somebody like me or somebody in their 50s or older to still have this trust in print. What drives you to this trust in print, especially on the local level?
Well, there's two sides of it. There's our personal preference, which you can't run a business around personal preference, but it does matter. So I'm a designer and I was a journalist graduate, and Gia, of course, is an accomplished journalist herself. And both of our worlds, we appreciate paper. We love paper. When we were putting this magazine together, one of the fun things was laying out all these magazines in front of us, different samples from our printer, and touching each page and figuring out which paper stock we prefer. And it's a pleasure now to see it laid out in the way that it is. We designed, it's not in order now, but we designed our spines so there would be a rainbow. Like these little details matter to us. But even on the business side, if you look at our model right now, the print is skyrocketing. We're doing great. And that's been the focus of our income.
And, we get a lot of feedback because we're local. We actually see our readers and talk to them just when we're shopping or whatever. And everybody tells us how much they like print, regardless of their age, right? Younger than us, older than us. They all want to touch and hold and feel something. And very oddly to me, we get tons of compliments on our paper, like on the quality of our paper.
And another thing we did that leans into that is since our very first issue, we decided to put artwork on the back. We don't sell that real estate. This is for local artists, which we are blessed to have so many talented local artists in our community. This is probably our highest profile one, who was a man named Ed Giobi, who I found out, again, wondering if we're going to have enough stories at the start of this. Now we're laughing because I found out 3 blocks down the street from where both of us live is a man named Ed Giobi, who is a bit of a recluse, but he's a master painter who's in the MoMA, the Tate, the Chicago Art Institute, the Whitney, many other places. And he's just down the block. And so we featured his artwork, but we feature a variety of artists in our area. And because it's a print publication, it extends the shelf life of this magazine, because when you're done looking at our covers, which is a whole other conversation, you can flip it over and leave this on your table, and now you have some beautiful artwork as well, which people have appreciated.
Yeah, and it works, and we hear from people all the time.
Yeah, and I design all the covers, and as such, we keep that very simple as well. We don't put local celebrities and subheadings and all this to clutter up the page. We keep it very clean for that exact same reason. We want this to look beautiful on people's tables for some time to come. So even if the issue is, you know, a year old, it still holds up.
And since you started the magazine, you moved from zero circulation to over 21,000.
Yeah.
Tell me about your business model. Tell me about that growth. I mean, like how connect to Northern Westchester. I mean, how does it feel to see this growth going on and
How does it feel? You know what? Honestly, a lot of everything has been a pleasant surprise as we've gone along. We've grown because the demand has been there and we've been able to support it financially. And the name change, when we changed from Katona Connect to Connect Northern Westchester, we originally started as a website towards the beginning of the pandemic, and it was literally just for our small town of Katona. So when we ended up deciding that we were going to print a magazine, we went back and forth with the name, and we chose to keep it, even though we were mailing to a larger audience than just Katona, because that name had name recognition. And we both kind of thought we'd get a good 4 or 5 years out of that name before we had to change it. And it came quickly, you know, it was like a year and a half.
Yeah, much quicker than we thought.
So
I think everything we've done, I think, has been kind of a surprise. So, you know, the very first issue we published, this one right here, you know, you have that beautiful feeling that, hey, we put out our first magazine. And that hasn't gone away yet. We put out our second, our third, and now we're, you know, over a dozen. And each time it's special. And now, like, we've been growing and we've been so busy and we haven't paid attention. We pay attention to every little detail, but we don't always necessarily step back and really reflect on where it is. So, kind of like to answer your question, it's an amazing thing, but we don't really notice it as we're going along. We sort of step back and we think, this started with a conversation in a coffee shop. And now we are covering, you know, so much of our region.
And from a business model perspective, since you asked, you know, we pay for the publication with advertising. I actually remember from journalism school learning how much money subscriptions suck from your business. So we decided that we would do direct mail and just directly mail into homes and businesses in our area and support the publication via advertising. So that's the business model we've chosen. We do actually offer subscriptions at this point because we had people asking, you know, if they unsubscribe to direct mail or if they live somewhere else in the country. But we don't publicize it too much, and it's there for people who want it. And we have like maybe 30 or 40 people who subscribed as far away as California that find the magazine somehow and really love it and want it. I mean, we had someone we'd never heard of or met before in, is it Tennessee? Right?
Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah, who we asked him,
Knoxville, I believe.
we asked him, like, how did you find us? And he said his parents had moved to the area and he was visiting them and he loved it so much that he wanted to get it. So he subscribed. So it's been fun.
Tell me, you know, I'm giving a presentation in Germany at the end of May about like truth and misinformation and print and ownership. How does it feel to actually own the magazine? I mean, it's your magazine as opposed to like it's a Google or it's a Facebook or it's a Twitter or X or whatever it is on the.
I don't know. I always say I'm living the dream I never knew I had. How does it feel?
For me personally, most of my career has been as a designer and a photographer. And that, of course, branched out into the worlds of branding, website design, brochures. I mean, you name it. So many different problems you'd have to solve. And for me, this is the epitome of all my skill sets. Everything that I've learned to do over the last, you know, decade plus of my career as a designer, I do every single day now, and a whole lot more. So And it's a pleasure. I love calling the shots creatively. I'm very lucky that we work so well together because we each stay in our lane and we're each very good at what we do, I hope. Um, and so, I've said if I can, continue making money, paying our bills, doing this, it's the absolute dream, 100%. We don't have to really answer to anybody but ourselves. And, we both have great taste, so it's easy.
Yeah, it's, uh, how, I'm trying to think of the best way to answer how does it feel still. Uh, we very intentionally did not want investors. We didn't want to have someone we needed to report to who would tell us, I don't know, that's not a good idea, that's a little risky. And I think the nice feeling that we have, we're both very creative and we bounce ideas off of each other really well. When one of us is stuck on something, the other one can really jump in and help that idea form and get to the right place. And it's been a really nice partnership in that way, to really, and to know, and there have been a number of articles that we've published that I'm pretty positive had we had financial backing, we would have been told no. And they were very well received in our community.
Yeah, I mean, our very first issue when it came out, we met with a wonderful person who was an editor at a previous magazine at some point. She gave us some advice on the visual side. She said, this is lovely, but maybe have a local celebrity and have those subheadings and all that sort of thing. I mean, these are opinions that are perfectly well grounded, and there's a lot of marketing and research behind making some of those decisions or turning down a certain article, whatever it may be. And we have been able to avoid that. And I think our instincts have been good to the extent that we're writing about stories. If you have a local magazine, your inclination is to write about, the local soccer game or to write about the local celebrity. We have a little bit of that, but I think we have leaned into more just interesting stories. They're going to be interesting wherever you go, locally or nationally. And so that's what we've been able to do. And I think if I can add one little detail to it, maybe because of the pandemic and various factors in our life, but humbly, Gia and I are probably far enough along in our careers and in our skills that we could work in Manhattan and work for an agency or work for a publication somewhere down there. But for circumstances in our life, we are local. And so we have what I hope is a national skill that we've brought to this local level. So that's, I kind of think, what makes us more unique than other publications.
One of the things that I heard a lot is the reason there's a rise in the city and local and regional magazines is that the need for that positive feeling, that you feel good as opposed to everything you're bombarded with around you. How do you apply that to your magazine?
Yeah.
Yes, but also no, I mean, we're not negative. We don't feel the need to bash anybody. We come out every other month. We're not hard news. So that isn't there. But I also think there's a need for knowing what's going on in your community and knowing local stories. And I don't, on a national scale, magazines like Glamour and Cosmo and Marie Claire and all of those, they tell very similar stories, which you can also find, 25 stories online about how to put on your makeup or the latest fitness craze or whatever. But you can't find 25 stories that are local, right? That are about the people in your community. And I think the positivity is a part of it. And then really honestly, the community piece, knowing who your neighbors are, who the business owners are, what they're up to. And even we take a lot of national stories and we make them local. We only interview local experts. We bring it back to our community, in whatever way we can.
I think the quality we bring to it as well. There's so many 24-hour news channels, and now these days, without putting politics in the conversation, people are getting their medical opinions and their political opinions from, with all due respect to the Joe Rogans of the world, for example, or these 24-hour news channels that don't always have the most credible journalists on the station. And so I think to some extent people are also hungry to read quality journalism. It doesn't have to revolve around who's running for president right now. There's other stories to tell. So we certainly do put a positive spin on most of our stories. which is a consequence of the stories we're telling, but we're telling real stories and we're putting in, quality level journalism into it. We're fact checking everything. We're finding as many experts as we can so the story is being told correctly. We have very strong opinions on a variety of things in our world today, but we keep that out as well. And I think a big point that's worth touching on is that we don't do pay to play. Obviously we have advertisers and we're happy to have them, but we don't allow that to affect our editorial, which I think we did that in the beginning just for our own passion and our own level, our
Morals.
standard, our own morals, our own standards. But we were, I think, also surprised that people really have noticed that in our area. And there's other publications in our region, and God bless them, but when you talk to people, yeah, that's been paid for, that's also been paid for, and they like the fact that we don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Do you think, is it passion that's going to drive the future of good journalism, the future of good magazines, as opposed to chain ownership or venture capitalists or people who have no idea what journalism is all about?
I hope so. We've seen there are several chain publications in our area and the larger area around us who don't know a lot about journalism, and it shows. I think it is a skill set that you develop. You can study in school or not, but you have to learn the skills to develop it. And I think from what we've seen, the respect that we've achieved in the community very quickly because that's our background. I think that would make me say yes. There is definitely a difference.
I think we are at a point too where journalism is a very loose word and it's become weaponized and co-opted by the wrong people on both sides of the political spectrum or possibly even in other countries. My hope is that as the younger generations are smarter to these things and they know what they are reading and where it's coming from, whereas maybe older generations don't pay attention to that as much, I hope, this is all big hope, that the younger generations will be smarter than that and this will eventually level out and they'll realize what's BS and what's actually coming from a credible news source. All we can do though is continue to sort of push back on that. There was another local publication that had been looking to sell, and they did face sort of this onslaught of larger companies that were trying to push more of an agenda in the region. They're trying to kind of influence people on a more local level. We're not trying to influence anybody, but we want to at least establish quality journalism wherever our footprint is.
I want to know what you think about
And
that
it
question.
shows in the magazine. It shows in the magazine. I mean, like the money issue, for example. I mean, you can tell that there is some good quality journalism in here. This is not like somebody just like get an article from a PR agency and publish the article. And so, I mean, I congratulate you on that because I'm one of those people who, before I retired, I told my students that journalism is dead. But I'm a fourth generation Presbyterian, so I believe in life after death. So I'm hoping to see like folks like you bringing journalism, good quality journalism, because I learned in journalism school years ago that when a journalist gives his or her opinion, he or she is no longer a journalist. And we have nothing but opinion these days. And I wish it was good opinions or opinions based on facts. But that's
And I would tell anyone seeing this or reading this, whatever, it's not just I mean, it definitely is passion for us. We're doing this as a labor of love, but there are financial dividends. Neither of us are driving Rolls Royces today, but there's a hunger for this. So if there's anyone on the fence thinking journalism is dead, I shouldn't do it, I should do something else, I should just sell out and work for the big company that's blah, blah, blah. Nope, don't do that. There's a lot of hunger for this. People are ready to have a good organic meal.
So what do you think about your question? What's your answer to that?
I mean, I'm seeing some bright spots. I mean, I'm seeing like, good quality journalism. I mean, I have interviewed the guy that just launched a travel magazine, ORI, ORI, which is beautiful, very good quality storytelling journalism. I mean, your magazine, we've seen few regional magazines like The Mountains and Ellen Katz, published in upstate New York, the Bee magazine in the Berkshires. I mean, so there is, but the sad thing, it's like you said, I mean, it's not the meet. It's rare now to see stuff like that, as opposed to the Me Too, Me Three,
Yeah.
Me Four, Me Five, and I told one of my clients in Spain one time, she had it on her desk, that Samir says, if you can Google the answer, it does not belong in the magazine.
I like that.
I mean, you have to really be a curator in chief rather than a chief content officer or a chief this or a chief that. We need more of the Indians working rather than the chiefs.
Right.
Yeah, I think the most important skill set that children these days and high school students and college students can learn is source. And you could be in a journalism school, that's great, but I think everyone needs to know where things are coming from, not only from a common sense forward-facing standpoint, oh, this publication is not a respectable journalistic organization. It's just a guy with a blog. Okay, that's one thing. But even learning on the back end, where's this IP address coming from? Is this coming from an untrustworthy source from Russia, for example? I mean, no offense to anyone out in the world, but we need to know the motivations of what you're reading and whether it's true, whether it's been fact-based, or whether it's just propaganda.
So tell me, on a personal question, like if I come visiting you like one evening unannounced, what would I catch you doing? Reading a book, watching TV, listening to music, cooking?
Working.
Working,
100% working.
calling each other on the phone about, this page or that story or whatever.
We have started doing almost like a day in the life of a publisher sort of thing, which is almost laughable because I think our typical day is not standard for even most publishers, although we have a lot of respect for the busy schedule of any publisher. But we've branched out now as well. And we haven't needed to, but we wanted to. So we branched out into a lot of video work. We have a heavy digital footprint. We are very involved in social media. We even launched an app recently. I mean, we have a lot of plates spinning at once. The magazine is still probably our main event, but video has picked up tremendously. And so every single day, if you look at our calendar, we have a chunk of time where we are reaching out to advertisers, where we are working on layouts, we are writing stories, we are going to local events, we are filming videos. I mean, it's nonstop, truly, truly nonstop. To the extent, and I say this with a lot of humor, but people in our region recognize this now, which is kind of flattering and
Weird.
yeah, we have to eat in other towns sometimes that our magazine doesn't mail to because people recognize our faces. They know us from social media, from me running around with the camera everywhere we go. It's a lot. We also have interns, collaborators, so we're juggling a million things and talking to someone like yourself.
So my typical last question is, what keeps you up at night these days?
Work, just in general, trying to get everything done. I'm thankful we're not a monthly because we would not be functioning humans if we were. But what keeps us up? On my end, now we have a lot of writers who freelance for us. And so where is the story where, I need to get it in, people missing deadlines, that stuff keeps me up. I don't know, advertising, the part of the business I hate the most, like selling ads, that's not my skill set.
Yeah. I personally have so many things in front of me. What keeps me up is definitely working. I mean, Gia and I are texting each other until sometimes 1, 2, 3 in the morning, depending on what we're working on. So literally that's what keeps us up, working on the magazine itself. But as soon as that's done, I have videos to work on. I have to, we're working on the app. We're running, there's just so much to juggle, but it's rewarding. We're proud of the result. And that's something that I think is worth mentioning is that it definitely feels like work. I'm not someone that says it doesn't feel like it feels like work, but we're so proud of it. We're building something. We're not just working.
Well, again, congratulations and job very well done. Keep up the good work, and thanks for sending me the magazine.
You're welcome. You're on our, I put you on our mailing list.
30 people, I guess, that are getting it outside Northern Winchester. So,
So
Count you in.
I wanna flip the tables for a minute, and we very greatly appreciate feedback from people in the industry about what we're doing well, but more importantly, you know, where we could improve. So to put you in the hot seat, any tips or advice? Because it's hard when we live in this bubble where we get so much praise. You know, we try to take a very critical eye, but it's good to have outside feedback.
well, one of the biggest advice that I gave my students, my clients, you name it, is audience first. As long as you concentrate on your audience, and as long as your customer, the audience, the reader, the viewer, the user is king and queen, you're in good shape. And it shows in your magazine. I mean, it shows that it's your audience first. I mean, even from the little things like devoting the back page for a piece of art, that especially that when we know that in the Western Hemisphere, 55% of people look at the magazine from the back going inside. So, I mean, it shows that you're not, I mean, although it's a business, but you're not into it for the money. You're into it like you're still firm believers in quality storytelling, quality journalism, and you have a solid. I mean, you've created a solid brand that now you are building upon. I mean, now you have the videos, now you have the social media, and you know there's nothing wrong with publishing 6 times a year. Last year there was only 1 magazine published in this country as a monthly, and everything else out of the 71 magazines that were launched were either bi-monthlies or quarterlies. I mean, we're becoming a country of bookazines, like one special topic. I mean, laser targeted. I mean,
I've written those.
yeah, yep. I mean, there's a lot of good journalists are creating those, and there's some companies buying them from the journalists, and there's a big competition on the newsstands between Taylor Swift and Jesus in terms of like how many bookazines we have to each one of them.
Funny because a company hired me, so I didn't come up with the topic. They reached out to me. They wanted me to write it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's Turnpike Media, there's 10 Media, there's 22 Media, there is, I mean, you name it. And if you look at the must-have, these were all like top editors like Larry Hackett from the People magazine in its heydays, Keith Blanchard from Maxim magazine in its heyday. All what they are doing is they are creating the content, and companies like A360 and others are buying that content and taking the entire risk of like publishing it and putting it on the newsstands. But I'm glad that you're still pockets of good journalism. That, I mean, this is what
Thank you.
Northwestern need, as opposed to a bookazine on witches and goblins and
You know,
because
also too, though, I think I can speak for both of us. It's important to both of us that we're not just appealing to a niche. So our magazine, I think we try really hard to, and our surveys have shown that we have a really broad readership. It's not just this niche group of people or a demographic or age. It's a broad group of people. That's in terms of the writing and on the design side. As much as I am a design nerd for modernism design and etc. But you know, I also, when I was a kid, loved Mad Magazine, for example. I loved magazines that were just silly and fun. And so we try to balance all that out. It's going well. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
started my career as a graphic designer before
Okay.
so it's I really, I mean, I can't differentiate between, when I'm judging a magazine, I can differentiate between the content and the design and how the whole package and the photography is
Yeah, that's important to us.
Any other publications, local, regional, that you think we should be reading or looking at for?
I mean, there's a magazine in North Carolina called Our State.
I
mean, this is sort of like the most successful regional magazine in the country.
Great.
And you need to take a look at it.
Sure.
in your area in upstate New York, there's both the mountains and the bee. Both of them are worthy of taking a look at.
Yeah.
And Texas monthlies, of course. I mean, you need
Yeah.
to figure out that. But you're doing a good job. Don't mess up with other things that will change your mind. Just stay.
No,
with-
Yeah, I always, though, I think it's helpful to see and get good ideas from publications who are doing good journalism and doing well.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna look into them.
Or it's just nice to know there's somebody else on the planet. You
Yeah.
know, we can wave on the other side of the island.
I think it was way exaggerated when they said print is dead. Print is alive. It's changing. But I mean, I am interviewing in a little bit the publisher of AARP magazine, and they are up
Oh.
like plus 8% between last year, between 22 and 23. So I mean,
Great.
and she talks about the print as a necessity for that audience. It's
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go away. It's shrunken in certain industries or in certain sectors where it made sense, but
Yep.
I don't think it's going to go away. And I think the quality of journalism is going to rise to the top again. I think these things
There's
go in
something.
waves, and there's a lot. We're in a new phase for the world, and typically the new phase brings in all the nonsense,
Yep.
and hopefully we'll shake that off, and the cream will rise to the top again.
let's hope so.
Yep.
Please send me your pictures, and I can scan some of the covers that I have. But if you can send me your pictures, I would be thankful. And you probably maybe like 3 weeks before this interview is posted, because I have like
A backup.
Yeah. back up. I have the CEO of Highlights for Children next week.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
They teamed up with Google, and they created a special issue of like how to use print to look into digital and stuff like that. And but
Well,
Yeah,
let us
I'm only
let
posting
us know.
a week.
So
So
we're
No
actually finally biting the bullet and doing professional photos on Thursday. So we will send you some after they're done,
okay.
which should, I mean, will be quick. We'll be within the 3-week window by.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just send you a nice shirtless picture of me at the beach.
That's what everybody wants, right?
Pictures. I take a lot of wildlife photography. I mean, if you visit my Facebook page, you will see all my wildlife photography.
Yeah, I'd love to see him.
Yeah, it's Mr.
Yeah.
Magazine and on Facebook, and it's
Yeah.
Easy, easy.
Yep.
easy to remember.
Well, graphic design and photo definitely overlap.
Yep.
You appreciate an image one way or the other. But yeah, I would love to check that out. And if you want, we'll certainly keep mailing you our
Yeah.
latest issue.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
on my mail.
definitely.
You can't get off. You're on there for life now.
Most importantly, though, I hope you feel better.
Yeah.
I hope to. It's take care, and I'll be in touch.
Perfect.
Please,
Thank you so much.
If you're in New York one day, look us up.
We
Yeah.
promise
We'll
not,
grab some coffee.
we promise not to work the whole time.
Yeah.